Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final episode of Season 1 for Losing Our Marbles, a Talk for Two. Back when we started this thing, I worked a lot with Standard Damage, aka Jamie, and I had remarked to him in private that I would know this was a successful operation if I could convince Pixel to be on by the last episode. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I waste no more time because it's Pixel by Pixel Studios!
What's going on?
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's exciting.
It's very exciting.
Been watching you build this up into something for a while.
I'm doing what I can. I'm a busy guy.
No doubt.
I'm a busy guy. Two busy guys that somehow found 2 hours in a day to shoot the shit. What do you know?
Exactly.
Well, Pixel, in case you're not familiar, let me just refresh everyone's memory. First hour, I'll more or less lead the conversation. Second hour, you'll more or less lead the conversation. There's a midstream mix-up in the middle just to ruffle the feathers, get us out of any weeds we may have dug ourselves into, and welcome everyone in chat. Thank you all for being here today. I'm going to start off right off of the bat with a really fun question for you.
Okay.
Most people I've asked always talk about their favorite game growing up as a child, their favorite game that they enjoyed playing, or like the perfect game, as it were. But you're more of a dev of games, and I think you have a unique perspective on the industry, at least as far as my guests are concerned. There are plenty of game developers out there, but I don't think many of them have been on my show. So, I was wondering, as a dev, not as Pixel, not as Mike, but as a game developer, what is your favorite game?
Oh man, like what do you mean as a dev though?
So I could say like Mario 64 is probably like the perfect game as far as video games go. But that's from a player experience. I would imagine developing that game was a nightmare, right? Like the amount they had to create and how much didn't work by the end that they just couldn't put in. Like, so I would imagine as a dev that game was a bit more of a nightmare. So something you may have seen in your life, and you could kind of like, you had like the Matrix vision, right? You could see the code and you're like, that's really smart, or like, that's really well done. Or just something that really impressed you as a game developer.
Man, I don't even know that answer. Something that impressed me as a game developer. I think when I see I like online games. Mm-hmm. So when I see games that have really good servers, that impresses me. When your gaming experience online with your friends is like seamless, that's like that sweet spot, you know? Where like you really feel it, and like the whole path with your friends is just, it feels good. You're not worrying about joining and joining the servers or whatever. You're just getting in there and enjoying the game. But I don't know where to put my finger on that exactly. I think one of the best online experiences I had was Destiny, the original, not Destiny 2.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
But I don't know if necessarily it impressed me as a dev. I mean, like, it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know exactly where to put my finger on that, but like Destiny's like, it always caught my eye. Okay. And like I spent a lot of hours on it.
Yeah, no,
but it's more as a gamer though, you know.
Right. But I think because of the development that went into it, like they really focused it as an online game, right? So there's some games that just kind of end up being an online game. It's because you've like, I think like Call of Duty and Battlefield kind of fall into that category. Like they initially really started more as like that campaign game, right? And then people wanted more online stuff, so they just kind of evolved it into this multiplayer online thing. But it doesn't really serve those online communities as well as a game like Destiny that's more like, this is what this is from the very beginning.
Right.
So that might be part of it, at least in my eyes, I'd have to say. So, yeah. I'm glad I stumped you on the first one. That was supposed to be the easy one. That was that was supposed to be.
I don't know. Like
that was supposed to be easy to get in here. Now we're gonna go.
Oh, jeez. It's gonna get harder now.
So in that context of game development, how do you foster ideas? And I can preface this to give you a little jumping pad here. So my favorite story is how Hearthstone was released. So Blizzard was sending Hearthstone around the office. Just they would fix it, they would patch it, give it to a couple more people in the office, and they just played it while they're working on, World of Warcraft and StarCraft 2 and all that stuff. And then at some point, everyone in the office was playing it. Like they were like losing productivity because everyone was playing the Hearthstone beta in the office. And they're like, okay, so like, and that's like their benchmark. It's like once everyone in the office can't stop playing it, can't stop talking about it, then they know they've reached like that level of, okay, now we have a game. Now we need to like, let's put it into the gears. Let's get the team on it. Let's, start cranking this out and stuff like that. Right.
Right.
So that's kind of my favorite story about fostering an idea. It's like, just throw it in there, keep giving it fertilizer until something grows, and then pluck it and cultivate it. Right. So what's your kind of approach to that fostering of ideas?
Well, I don't think I could relate with what you gave, because I think that's a very rare experience to be able to just whip something up and be like, hey guys, just play around with this and we'll see where it goes.
Right.
Because like we never really had, we've never been in the position to like build an idea from the start in a secure setting where like we can just take our time and work with it. We've always been in a rush.
Right.
And like just this year we started being able to slow down and be able to just focus on ideas and be like, all right, let's do this. Let's go back and optimize that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like when I'm trying to come up with ideas now, it's just about coming up with something that sounds good first, and then getting it into.
You gotta have a good pitch.
Yeah, but something that like when you're talking through it, it's like, oh, this sounds interesting, and like all the different elements come together. That's like kind of like how Tilted came to be. Is like it was like, what about a board, and then we control the board, kind of like Monkey Ball, and but it's with everybody.
Right.
And then it was like, well, how do we do the camera? If
what marble are you gonna follow the lead marble?
So that was like, okay, that was like problem number one. If we can't solve this, it's not a game. There's no way, because the camera can't be a mess. So yeah, we just did that. So yeah, it's just about bringing it slowly to fruition and seeing when it grows roots. And then once you get that feel of like, okay, this is a game, like this is going to be something, then you just commit to it and just start building it out. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's especially in that confines of like, you have deadlines, you have seasons, you have a limited team. It's, you don't want to just be throwing resources at things that aren't going to pan out. You really got to make sure your car has an engine. Just like something I like to say. Because I have friends that are like the entrepreneur, Wall Street kind of people. And we'll be hanging out talking about ideas and things. And they'll be like, oh, what if we did this? This would be awesome. And I'm always like the naysayer. And they always like criticize me for being the naysayer. It's like, it's not that I'm not excited about your idea. It's like, you have bought a race car and you're like, we're gonna win the Daytona. It's like, yeah, but did you even see if it has an engine yet? Like, have you even opened the hood, right? And it's like, so one quick example I had actually is this was in more of like a spiritual area that I lived in, where a lot of like yogis and people were, and they wanted to make like a yoga cushion business, because they had an art friend that did psychedelic paintings that could be printed on the pillows. They had a whole like sourcing network for duck feathers, because there was a poultry farm near the area that had excess feathers that was willing to work out for it. And all the great. And I was like, okay, this is all good. What's your distribution? And they're like, well, we're just gonna, private online store. I was like, okay, so you're gonna need a warehouse. And they're like, oh, Like the whole idea of storage space, like it's like, okay, if you're planning on moving 1,000 units a month, you're going to need somewhere to put 1,000 units every month. There's no room in the living room. I hate to bring it to you.
It's true.
It's a great idea, but can we actually do it, right?
Right.
So it's like, I understand that I'm a bit of a naysayer, but it's only because with that limited resource, you can't just be like, yeah, let's go for it. What do we got to lose? Well, actually, we have a lot to lose. So let's maybe evaluate it before we hit the green light on it, right? So any questions you have in that regard you want to throw back my way in those areas of conversation?
Well, one of my questions is kind of, it dives into design and like your process, but I don't know if you want to do it now or later.
Sure. I feel like we're in the topic.
Yeah, I want to know your process for the 1 hour maps. Because there's a lot of very complex elements within it. And I don't feel like, it doesn't give me the sensation of like, you just dive into the builder and do it. It tells me you sit back and plan this out for a long period of time and then build those elements and then bring them together in a 1 hour map.
Well, anyone interested, I am currently building it every day on stream. So y'all can be a part of that process. And that's number one, right? Is making it a community effort, right? I could lock the door, turn out all the lights, and just grind 20 hours a day for 5 days and be like coming out of the shadows like, guys, I made it, right? It's like, yeah, but I don't feel that's the best approach, especially if this is something, like if it was just a painting I was going to hang on the wall, sure, I would definitely do it that way. But if this is something I'm giving to the community, something I want to get clips of people playing so I can make a video out of it, things I can hang out in someone's stream for 2 hours watching them run, then it needs to have that ability to captivate not just me. It needs to captivate the community. So making it live with people giving ideas or saying, oh, that's rude, or like, I don't know, that just it seems kind of boring, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe we need to spice this up a bit, right? So that's a big part of it, is doing it live with the community. But it was a really fun, you remember the season 14, the not 1 hour. It was only like 40 minutes or something like that. It was the straight line, had the cannons at the end that no one could follow. And
I don't know if I remember that one.
It's the one where I tried to use every piece at least once. So like each section was a different piece.
Was it the one where you went all the way up and then came all the way back down into the funnels?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
So after I made that one, I was in Custom Fitted stream because he had just watched, I think we raided into him and he had just watched me run it. And he was kind of like speculating how I built it. And the one comment that always stuck out in my mind that he said is like, you couldn't have like made that whole map in your mind, right? You had to like just build each section as a thing and then just put it together. Like there's no way you could have like that whole thing in your brain, right? And I'm just sitting there like watching his stream like, you have no idea. It's all in there. And there's a very important reason why it's all in there. Anyone who saw me build season 16, the issue I ran into was it wasn't the right layout. The sections weren't in the right order. And losing 30 hours of progress because I have to rebuild the whole map from scratch is devastating.
Yep.
And in order to never make that mistake again, moving forward, I have tried to come up with the rough idea of the sections in my brain during the previous season so that I know what order I want them in. And people probably saw me doing this on Wednesday or Thursday, I think it was Thursday, where I just made a section for like an hour and then I deleted it, and then I made another section for an hour and I deleted it because I was trying to see how is this going to work with the marbles, because I'm going back to the 8 sections, 8 starting piece locked hammers situation again. So I want as many sections to be teamwork oriented as possible, so like 2 marbles have to collide or 2 marbles have to go through something at the same time, and you can't do that on the first one, the first section, because if you only have 20 marbles and only 1 marble gets through, then that 1 marble is never going to complete the section because it doesn't have a partner. And trying to like convey that information to people before they run the track is almost impossible. So I'm at this point, I've settled that the first 2 sections need to be single marble completion, and then everything after that can be partnered up. And so I basically already have 5 sections done in my brain, but only 2 in the builder, because the next section I need to do I haven't come up with yet, or at least haven't finalized how I want to do it. So knowing the order of sections is the biggest thing. And as far as just the creation itself, it's really more the sitting with something and looking at it. The joke I make during the builder is I ask the marbles to speak to me. I'm like, talk to me, marbles. Tell me what you need, right? And the idea of that is you could just watch the marbles roll on a piece. And if you're really in depth into the knowledge, you don't see like the rotating vortex orbiter with the pins that go in a circle. That's not just a funnel with pins in a circle. It's thousands of triangles. And there's a little lip at the edge of the outside piece. And then there's a disc made of another 1,000 triangles rotating in that. And then there's another disc in that made out of a couple hundred triangles rotating in that. And each of those pins is a cylinder with a cylinder of collision around it, right? And so you're not looking at a piece. You're looking at thousands of geometrical inputs. And you can see a marble roll on it, and you'll see like it does a little hop over each disc. It's like, I wonder if we can accentuate that. What if you were stuck in the ring and you had to get one of those hops to get out of it, right? Or what if those pins went so fast a marble couldn't get through them, right? Like, what is there a way to make these kinds of things? So it's really breaking down the pieces to really see what can be done. And I think a lot of people would be surprised how few high-rated maps actually run on my stream, just in general. Because like I have Thursday Flare, but I do all the low-ranked ones, and Fridays I'll usually open up with 1 or 2 high-ranked ones, and even sometimes Thursdays I'll open up with some high-ranked ones. But the reason I don't do a lot of high-ranked maps is because, 1, I don't want my brain clouded with other people's ideas, and 2, I'm not interested in what has already been done, right? So watching that stuff would make me just say, oh, someone already did it, and I would never try it. But maybe there's something they missed. And if I'm trying that idea, I'm going to execute it differently than they did. And I'm not muddied by what they did. I'm free to explore it without those biases, without those second guessings and criticisms. So there's a bit of isolation required in order to really explore that creative execution. And yeah, it's as you said, it's complex. It's really complicated. So
you don't like consuming other people's ideas because
not the people who do it well, right? So like Thursday Flare,
it's about the people who do it well,
right? So Thursday Flare, you'll see something someone tried to do, but they couldn't quite pull it off. It's like, ooh, I could do that better, right? But you see like something that, I don't know, Hidri or Lug or Deathluck makes, and they do like the concentric rings of Brenda's. It's just like, well, okay, well, can't do that. They nailed it, right? It's like, it's done. And they probably didn't nail it, right? There's probably something that could be tweaked in there, or maybe just changing the directions of the which way they spin, you could actually get a marble to go through the whole thing. I don't know, but I've never played with it because they already did it, right? So
don't you find that limiting though?
It is, and welcome to the horror that is the brain I live in. Like, this is what I live with every day of my life. It's just
See, I love consuming other people's ideas and then just trying to break down the flaws of them, and then trying to solve those flaws and make it better.
For me, it's easier when it hasn't been done well, right? Right. I guess I feel kind of guilty because even sometimes in Thursday Flare, like if a map's done really badly or really sloppily, I'll like make a wager with chat. Like, I bet I could make this map in 10 minutes and have it work better. And then I do. But then I always feel kind of bad. It's like, yeah, but how does that person who made that map feel about me doing that, right? It's like, right? So I always have a little guilt in there. And especially if it's a map maker I respect that has really accomplished a lot with the build. It's like, I feel out of respect I shouldn't kind of one-up them. Because I don't really see it as a competition. I see it as a cooperative exploration.
Right. So based on that cooperative idea, let's say you took it and made it a little bit better and showed them, hey, there's a new tactic that you can use here. And then they can go and make it the next step better.
Right.
Because you took the next step. Don't you think that's teamwork and cooperative?
Yeah, I agree, but it's not how my brain works, man. I wish it were that easy. I really do. Trust me, I wish it were that easy. Well, that's just not how my brain works, unfortunately. So, yeah. Well, speaking of that, I actually have a great question to segue out of this.
Okay.
Because that really goes into the realm of feedback, right? That cooperative process of creation.
Yeah.
And you have created a system that most gaming companies would rather shoot themselves in the foot 5 times than go with. Because you're actually listening to everyone, you're actually interacting with everyone, you're actually in the community of the game you created instead of just putting it there, letting a couple teenagers run the server, and then moving on to the next thing.
Right.
So I would imagine with a million voices screaming at you every hour of the day, there needs to be a line that you have to draw for yourself as far as feedback goes or involvement goes. And depending on your comfort zone and what you feel to and not to disclose, I was wondering if you were willing to go into like, how do you draw a line for yourself with the community, especially in the realm of feedback when you're constantly getting these ideas, critiques, bugs, issues, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm down to talk about it. It's a challenge, and I feel like I'm still learning, definitely, how to do that in the best way possible without driving yourself crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because with so many people talking, you can literally consume opinions about your product all day, nonstop, 24/7. And I used to do that where I would just consume everything, but now I try to take things into context and I try to look for people who are enjoying the game in their own way, but then have some feedback on certain elements that they've spent a lot of time with.
Mm.
A lot of the time, people have initial opinions on things, and I try to not hold those with too much weight. Because you just don't understand something, like definitely marbles, right? Like you just don't understand it until you've spent a lot of time with it.
I do that every season. I'm like, Pixel, this is impossible. We can't possibly do this. And then 2 seasons later, it's like, oh yeah, that thing, man.
Yeah, it's just time, right?
Yeah.
So I just try to listen to people who spend a lot of time with things. Like Eagery is one of my go-to for the builder because he's spent so much time with it. So when I'm like trying to like run something into the game, I'll be like, what do you think about this?
Mm-hmm.
And or he'll give me his feedback on it. It's like that, yeah. But yeah, it's challenging. It's something I used to do really poorly, I think, and I used to consume everything, and it would shift the game like all over the place. But now it's got like a main direction,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen to general ideas, and if they're well put, well written out, and well thought out. But other than that, it's just keep trucking forward, and also listening to the team, the people working on the game, ensuring they can inject their creativity into the product as well. Because if they're not passionate about it, then what are we doing here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I try to just go with the team and make sure everybody's on board and do something that we all believe in.
Yeah. I feel like that's an idea that was kind of captured in the Watchmen comic book series with the smartest guy in the world, how he's like always watching 20 televisions at the same time because he's just like constantly keeping a pulse on the world, right? It's not that he's comic book smart, so he can technically like memorize and hear every conversation all at the same time, but it's still that same idea of just not needing to listen to every word, but just hearing and having your thumb on the pulse of the community and just kind of be like, what has been said more than once? What have people said the same way, the same time, 5 times today? Or what's something people bring back every season? Like every season they keep saying this, right? So it's just, I think there's that kind of balance of you need to have, Ozymandias, thank you, Pinball was. Just that idea of having your thumb on the pulse and just always having some kind of input without engaging in it directly. Almost like a third party watching kind of a thing. Imagine God complexes come out of that quite often. I can see everything.
Yeah. I'm constantly like, I need more monitors so I can watch more streams.
Yeah. So, no, That's pretty much what I would expect is for that line is like being able to hear it all without thinking about it all. It's just not easy.
Yeah. No, it's because everybody's got their opinion, right?
Yep.
Everybody's got their opinion, and they're all different. There's so many different people in the world, and everybody sees things from a different angle.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Let's dive into that. Let's cut that open. We're gonna get right in there.
Okay.
Here's what I have on my piece of paper, and by piece of paper I mean notepad. It says number 5: difference between optimism and positivity. I'm gonna rephrase this to fit where we're talking right now.
Okay.
There is a way of being positive, like a positive member of the community, and there's a way of being optimistic about the community. And I would argue that it's more appropriate to be optimistic than positive. But I'm a cynical person. And what I mean by that is having a high expectation of the game and of the community is a good thing, but always pretending everything's good or only ever focusing on the good things could be a dangerous path to go down. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Like, in what sense? Like,
So,
in terms of feedback?
in terms of feedback, or even just in terms of operating in the community as an individual, right? Like, so people could always be going around spreading positivity, but maybe not
Right.
necessarily contributing anything to the game, just adding positivity to the community, which is a good thing. But I feel not as productive as more of like an optimism, which may risk not always being positive for the sake of wanting the game to be better.
Man, you've confused the hell out of me.
Sorry.
S-
I'll try to let's come up with a specific example. Okay. So let's say with the new Tilted,
Right.
there are people like, "Yay, we got a Tilted update. I love it. Thanks, Pixel. Awesome stuff. I'm so glad we have something new to look at." Yay.
Right.
Right? And that's all they ever say. They never say like, "Oh, it's kind of hard to see that the walls and the side are different because they're the same color and texture." Or
Right.
they might say, "Well, it seems like this piece is a little too difficult for this section." And it's not that they're being negative. It's just that they have high expectations of the game, right? They want it to be the best Tilted, right?
I wouldn't say that's not negative at all.
Right. Okay. So that's
just
what I'm touching on. Is the difference
Yeah.
between like positivity and optimism, where positivity you
I don't think
refuse
that
to
has
be
I
critical.
don't think that has anything to do with positivity or negativity or optimism.
Okay.
All that is just stating your opinion on something on the game,
Okay.
right? Like, and the way you put it, it's conveyed in a factual manner. Like, I would agree, they are hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I would tell you, tile knowledge is something that I was going for.
Right.
I saw that they were like, people told me as before we launched it, like, they're hard to see. And I played around with some coloring.
I like it.
But I was playing around with some different coloring. I was going to color the tops of all the obstacles with the color of the difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did that, I wonder if I could give you a picture.
Ooh.
It was just too much.
Right.
I sent it to Spoon.
I can imagine that.
We had like 5 versions.
Yeah.
Where we played around with the different coloring. I even did one where all the sides were white, so they're like extremely in your face.
that was my idea, was have this side edge be a different color. But
So here, I'll give you a picture of what that looks like. Actually, I found it.
Awesome. Because that's what I see. Because I had an idea that it might be a little too much.
It is too much.
But...
So with the color of the walls being a brighter color, when you look at the track at an angle, you're getting a blast of that color in your face, like aggressively.
Right.
So save this, send it on Discord. So this is our white tiles.
Ooh. Oh, I see. Okay.
So like white edges.
That's not
so
even...
yeah, it's very easy to see, but it was very aggressive on the eyes.
Yeah, that's not even a direction I was gonna go, but I could see that. Yeah. So even if it was just the top was white and the side was black, that'd probably still be a little.
Yeah, and
throwing off.
then
Yeah.
I have this one, which is I'll give you two more. So there's that one, and then there's the tops. There we are. Here's two more.
Ooh. Okay, so, yeah, this is what I was thinking, was something like this. And yeah, so it does have that break in the edge, which is a lot more obvious. But maybe the obstacles having that and is that something that's not separable, like the top of the obstacle and the top of the wall?
I mean, we could, but yeah, like we currently have it all the same.
Yeah, so it's still, yeah, I could see how that could be a little overloaded. I kind of like how it's a break there, but it does make it like, it does feel hand holding, right? Doesn't it? It feels like we're holding your hand a little too much. So
well, that's not why I didn't do it. I just felt it was too much of the color in your eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like that's my biggest problem, because like what I think a lot of my design decisions go towards the angle of what is the viewer looking at. Right, and that's why I went
for
with the
6
all
hours
black.
In a high stress situation.
Yeah. So I wanted I wanted the level to look like where you were, like the difficulty, but I also didn't want it to be so extravagant that it was like burning your eyeballs.
Right. That makes sense.
And then the second one that you have there is the walls, the color, and the tops are black. So we went through a couple iterations, and that came on the black one, on the black walls, black tops.
And that actually, it's actually a really good answer you gave, because now I want to dive more into that. In that you don't really see that factual commentating as positive, negative, or optimistic or pessimistic. So it's a really interesting way that you actually separate those ideas.
Well, so like it's the way it's delivered. It's all about the delivery, right? Like we could be like, this game's garbage because the servers don't work. I hate it, right? And I feel like that's just like, okay, yeah, like I get it, right? But if you're just giving a clean opinion where it's just like, hey, the walls aren't good, being very dark, I have trouble seeing them. Okay, like that's fair,
right?
Or you can just keep digging into it and just hating, and that's where I think it dives into negativity. And you're beyond an opinion. You're going into like your feelings and your hate, or even your love towards something.
Yeah,
it becomes like it goes past the opinion. It just becomes emotional.
And do you think that's something that can happen in both directions? So do you think you could lose sight of the productive, constructive comment, either going too negative or too positive?
Totally.
I like that.
Well, because it becomes emotional, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's like, right? It's not like the problem or the good thing at hand. It's just it's an emotional response at that point. Yeah. And emotions, we often know the emotions take control of us and push to the extremes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I really like that answer. That's awesome. I like that a lot.
Sometimes I have them.
Cool stuff. Anything on your plate you want to throw back my way that seems to touch on these kinds of things?
What? Sorry, say that again.
Any questions you might have relevant to positivity, negativity, feedback, things like that?
I don't know, like what's a way that you like to convey issues with games or things that you don't like or whatever, right? Yeah. Like if a game has something wrong with it, what is your go-to way of expressing yourself?
I'm really a fan of like the bug report, right? So like, and this happened in, I think StarCraft 2 had a really good model. Like it wasn't so much for the game itself, but for the community. So it was like, I have a problem with this person in this community. And it's like, okay, click the button. Here's a drop-down menu. What's the problem? Okay, here's another drop-down menu. What's specifically the problem? And it's like, okay, here's a comment section. You got 150 characters to smooth out the edges a little bit, and then submit, right? Because then I know, like, I've been heard, right? Because I submitted it. It's in the system. I know it's there. Sure, no one ever reads it, but hey, it's in the system. And if it becomes a repeated problem, then the server is going to be like, oh, this screen name's been reported 20 times in the last 2 weeks. We should probably take a look, right?
Right.
And I really like that, because the moment you have to write it down, and the moment you have to pick from a menu of a list of things, that's that kind of reset that you're talking about. Like, take the emotion out of it. Like, all right, slow down, chief. What's the problem? Like, this is the problem. It's like, okay, what's really the problem? I guess this is the problem. It's like, okay, anything you want to say about that? It's like, yeah.
You start thinking it out, right?
Right. So I really like that kind of a format where it's like, okay, there's a problem. Tell us about it. But first, let's get just back in line here, right? So
right.
I really like that kind of a approach, rather than just the free for all of, Pixel's chat while he's trying to program something. So yeah, but that goes back to me being a very stalwart individual. Very much in emotions come second, and it's only an operation in society for me, right? I think, as far as my philosophy goes, the emotions are very important to service the individual, but logic is very important to service the public, because you can't help a person in a crisis with logic so much as you can by being commiserate and empathetic. And similarly, you can't solve a crisis with emotions. You need a plan, you need logic, you need a solution, right?
Right.
So I'm very much in that bag of separation of logic and emotion, and applying the two when they need be applied. And anything outside of an individual, I would very strongly caution emotion being used, especially as like a validation, right? So a lot of like social movements that people have problems with is because of the emotional aspect. It's all those emotions flying around. It's like, just have a logical conversation about it. Like,
right.
You're not getting anywhere, and you're making things worse. Like, chill out. Try again. So that's the kind of the bag I fall into.
Yeah, step back, assess, and address it with like at least a little bit of thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
We used to do that in the studios. Just go so hard and then launch and then try to get the next thing out. Always in a rush, right? So you often lean back into your emotions because you're going so fast. You don't have time to slow down and just be like, okay, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. But now that we have, I feel like the team's just been absolutely crushing it because we've slowed down and we started thinking about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's been nice seeing that, and that's what I mean about learning. Is like we're always learning. Is like these big moments that happen of like we try to do a launch, something breaks, and oh my god, right? And now it's just like, okay, we launch. Okay, there's something broken. All right. The process goes into
I just
play.
don't plan anything for each season launch days. I'm just like, it'll happen when it happens, and I'll just start building. Like, that's I'm not gonna tilt. I'm not gonna race.
Guaranteed something's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's just like, and that's nothing unique to you guys. Every game that tries to launch in one big explosion always has their servers overloaded, always has some bug they missed, and they have to shut everything down for 24 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's nothing unique.
There's just never enough eyes. There's just never enough eyes on a piece of software to dig into it and know everything that's going on, unless you have a testing team twice the size of your dev team.
Yeah.
But that's the beautiful thing about working with the community the way that we do is you guys understand that we make mistakes, mm-hmm. but when they come out and a mistake happens, we will fix it as well.
Right.
And it just may take time. It may happen right away. It just matters on how immediate it needs to be addressed. But that's, I think, is the best part of like doing this, is that the community is very understanding because we've been doing it for a long time now. Mm-hmm. And it's just about us getting through the work. And if there's a problem, we'll address it.
Well spoken. This is why I think that Marbles is doing so well. It's because they have a leader, this guy, who's willing to do what needs to be done for the sake of the game rather than the sake of themselves or the sake of their company. They actually care about the actual game, and I think it shows, for sure.
Well, I can't say that we don't care. Like the company's a big
right, but
it has to be healthy, right?
There's like a hierarchy, right?
Well, see, that's the thing is like I put so much weight in the game before, and I didn't think about the health of the company financially. So there was a time where we were like almost on the brink of the end, right?
Right.
And that's because I didn't have the right priorities for the right things.
Right.
But then we sorted that out, and now we're able to focus back on the content of the game, which is so good because the company stuff is taken care of now.
Right.
Because we focused on it. So yeah, like it's all like a big, I don't know what you want to call it, but like a big machine with a lot of cogs moving around, and you just got to make sure that everything's lined up properly. And
Marbles is like torque. A Plinko board, and you can't get timed out. You got to pay attention to everything.
Yep.
That's all right. I may have snuck that one in there because number 6 on the list, pachinko. That's all it says. It's not a question. It's just one word. Pachinko. I think you nailed it. I think you nailed pachinko. You had an idea. You popped it out there. I think you maybe revised it for like half a season. And other than general updates and fine touches, I think you nailed it. Like, that was super success story in my book. I don't know how you feel about it, and I'm interested to know.
It's needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of work, but it's a great short-term thing right now. But I want to build it into a long-term thing. Yeah, there's just not enough content there for it to be what it is right now. It needs more.
Gotcha.
But it is what I intended it to be, is like a community fun hangout that drives conversation, apparently.
Yeah.
Like our Discord lights up sometimes. People are like, "Oh my god, I got timed out." But it's just like, I think it's something cool that everybody kind of rallies behind now, because everybody's like against the pachinko, and that's fine. That's cool. Yeah. That's the idea. It's like, you got to figure out what it likes and what it doesn't like, and then just play within those bounds. And it's taught me a lot.
That's always been my angle for a lot of situations. I'm a firm believer that everyone needs an adversary, and I'm usually pretty good at being that adversary, because where most true adversaries are actually vindictive and trying to kill you, either socially or in business or whatever, I kind of have that mutual respect. Like, I'm only doing this to challenge you to make you better, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I think I'm slowly getting there more in the Marbles community, because you can't just like go straight in as an opposing force, because there's just going to be immediate pushback. No one's going to be interested, and there's like, okay, clearly this guy's against us. Let's just write him off. So it's kind of that way of like, how do we establish a mutual respect while still having the ability to say, it's you versus me, let's go, right? So I think there's an essential need to have that opposition, because kind of the thing, like necessity being the mother of all invention, right? It's, if you can put someone in a situation where suddenly they don't have everything they thought they needed to solve problems, like you've presented them with a problem they don't have the answer for, now you're making things better, right? Now you're filling in the gaps, you're flushing out the territory, all that kind of a stuff. And so that's something I've been spending a lot of time trying to angle myself in as far as the community goes. It's just how can I be that antagonist without losing the mutual respect? It's a weird line to walk.
Right.
So
I can see that.
And that's kind of how I view pachinko, right? And the advantage of pachinko is it's not a streamer, right? It's just a program. So it's very easy to hate.
Yeah, and it's not going to get emotional. It's just going to keep doing its thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, pachinko's like, it actually like taught me a lot. It's taught us a lot about, flow and how like important it is to keep content going
Mm-hmm.
and engaging,
Yeah.
and how important it is like to have lots of diversity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a fun space to keep trying new things. Like we got, like, it automatically distributes prizes. That's the first time we've ever done something like that. So it's a good
It's awesome.
first poke at an idea.
Yeah.
So that we can maybe bring that to the full game of marbles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to have a space where you're like, guys, I know you have feedback on it, but don't worry. Like that's not what this is. I know you have opinions.
This isn't about you.
Yeah. This is about some crazy idea, and just let me go through it. Let us get it out of our heads and just keep plugging away.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's also important to have those spaces if you're a creator. Is like, have a space where like you can just unleash regardless of what people are gonna think. Just get your opinion. Just try your things out.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost like a beta spot, right?
Yep. I think that's just good advice for anyone in a creative endeavor. Is like, just go for it,
Yeah.
And there's two ways it works out. One, no one likes it, and you try something else. Or two, that one person likes that one thing, and you can turn that one thing into what the rest of your life is about.
Right.
And both are great situations, right? So the first situation, now you're not wasting your time and you're focusing on something better.
And you learn something.
Right. And the other situation, you've found your thing. So there's really virtually no downside to it other than, the short-term disappointment in it not working.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I like the Dust Luck comment. I usually don't pay too much attention to chat during the talk show for the sake of conversation, but the mustache versus the beard, I like it. Because we both have mustaches and beards, but one of our beards is more impressive and one of our mustaches is more impressive.
That's true. That's true.
I like it. We could go aside there on that. What is your grooming routine? Let's go casual for a second. What
does it look like? I have.
Let's say the hair alone. The hair alone speaks volumes.
It's out of control right now, man. There's no hairdressers open.
It's a good thing. I have hairdressers open where I am. I went once. I think I'm good. I chopped off 3 inches, and it's gonna all grow back before I go back again.
Yeah, I need to trim. But yeah, normally I just I comb it. Sometimes I put beard oil.
Any specific beard oil or just something good?
I ordered probably about 2 years ago now. I ordered from that, not the Shave Club, but the other one, the Beard Club or something. That
yeah. There's a couple online.
Yeah. Anyway, so I signed up for that for 6 months, and I got a crap load of oil, and I still have leftover.
Nice.
So yeah, nothing special, just whatever is available.
I don't like the oils so much, but there's a cream I use once a week or once every other week, just to work on this part. So this is an experiment here. I want to braid it at some point. And as it
you want to braid that?
Yeah, as it currently went, it didn't braid well. So now I'm growing a little extra hair in a patch behind it to kind of fill it out more.
Yeah, I got you.
So it's really awkward, and it's gonna be awkward for another 2 months.
That'll be epic.
I hope so. Because the mustache is always really finely waxed in, and you can't really wax this. It gets brushed too much, it's moving too much, and it just kind of frizz up. So I feel
it needs oil.
Gotta braid it. It
needs some oil.
I need one of those ironers. That new. I keep seeing.
Yeah, where you do it and it's straight.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's like a male hair iron.
Yeah.
Might need one of those. I'll have to see. But yeah. Good stuff. In artistic direction, let's go this way. Your emotes have a certain cartoon style. Yeah. And that cartoon style has bled into Marbles a little bit, but I've noticed Marbles is heading much more into the more hyper-realism category. Yeah. So you have instead of just doing a pattern that is on a carpet, you're actually doing a carpet texture, with the
Yeah.
carpet pattern on it, right? And like the metals are getting very good, and all that kind of stuff. Any comments you're willing to share on the creative direction of Marbles, like the aesthetic? Do you like the
So I
mixed
just
bag, or do you want it more streamlined? Or
so for the game, yeah, it's all about realism because then you get the nice lighting and everything.
mm.
But I mean, you saw the maps that we have that are cell shader, right? So
Yeah,
we took a hit. We're like, let's try this out and see what this feels like. And then you see that you lose your metallics and you
yeah.
lose a little bit of the
The
lighting
maps
effects.
look great, but the races not so much.
Right. So obviously that was a shot, and in my opinion, it's not necessarily a hit. I don't think it's a full miss, but it's not something that I like for the game necessarily.
Maybe something to implement into the skyboxes.
What do you mean?
So if you had like a vector shaded skybox, this isn't like for next season, but like 2 years from now maybe there could be some form of like procedurally generated skybox that uses the vector shading as like a quick, easy way to create a 360-degree image. I don't know. A thought just came to me, and I don't know if it has any actual application at all, but
I have no clue what you mean.
it's like,
You mean like it's a cell shaded.
right. So it's just it creates a geometry, like a geographic geometry, and then it cell shades it, and then it's just a fixed image. So like each time you load the level, it looks different.
That would be interesting.
I don't know, it's just one of those things that's just like boop, boop.
But you would need to build. See, you know what a skybox is when it's just an image in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It's an HDRI image,
Right.
Which is an image from like a camera that sits in the middle, and then it right. So it's one of those images. So that means a world would need to be generated, the image would need to be generated, and then loaded onto the object.
Yep.
Which I think would be a lot.
Probably.
But you probably throw that on a server and get it to just pump them out on a regular basis, and then you have like dynamic skyboxes in the game forever. I mean, like, I think games are headed there. I think games are like the power of Unreal 5. If that's all real and it works, it's not Unreal, it's real.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a step into another dimension for gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Because like there's no limitation on meshes and everything, so you can just like do stuff on the fly and just whip it up because you don't need to worry about LODs and performance. You're just loading stuff in. Just get it in there.
Yeah. Unreal 5 would be really exciting for Marbles, I think. I don't know. Hopefully it wouldn't require rewriting too much. But I'm sure there's always going to be those little things like, oh, this doesn't work anymore. Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, when you transition to engine versions, it's supposed to be cross. Like you're supposed to be able to go back or go forward to 5.
But maybe not in the way you want it to, right?
No, it'll probably work. They'll probably like certain blueprints or whatever will break, and we'll have to like just adjust some coding or whatever. But
so you're not expecting any major uphaul in a transition like that.
Hopefully not. We'll see. Like if they change their physics, that's something we got to be careful of because our game is all about physics.
Right. So
if they change any of the calculations for physics, we got to be aware and be like, okay, is this a move we want to do?
Mm-hmm. For sure. So in that, since we're still talking about that kind of dev aspect, because I have non-Marbles related stuff, I think we can save for the second half, depending on where you want to go. But so the 5 characters I have, one is the recently revealed Dev. And Dev is actually one of the OG characters, just never on stream. And she comes from having worked with a couple game developers. A little known fact about myself. I did go to college with a couple game developers who worked on some pretty major projects that I helped them field test and stuff like that. Just kind of like their beta tester, since I was available and free and they knew me pretty well.
Right.
And there were a couple non-digital things, like there was a deck creation game that I helped work on, kind of like try to remember one of the names of it, but it's where you start with 10 cards, and during your turn you do stuff to buy more cards, and you try
Deck
to build
building,
a
yeah,
deck while the other players are trying to build a deck, and it's stuff like that. So I field tested one of those games. But the one thing my one friend was working on that really captivated me was procedurally generated plot, like a narrative.
yeah.
So instead of creating a video game, you create a sandbox of a video game. So you have a story mode and you play through it, and then you can load the game again, go back into the story mode, and it's a completely different story. Same
Yeah.
characters, same major plot points, but now you're on this side trying to do this thing. Or now instead of the world ending, the problem is there's a pandemic outbreak. Like there's a way of putting pieces together in a story. And the challenge there is the exponential function, right? So every choice you make is multiplying the things you have to account for, right? So if you have 5 major decision points in a storyline, that's 2 to the 5th potential endings. And creating a game like that as a choose your own adventure is too labor intensive for humans to make going forward. Like it's going to get to a point where the demand is greater than the ability for a game developer to create from scratch each time. But if you had a computer that could create all those avenues and create an ending for each storyline, then you've taken the workload out of it. And now you're just modifying the code to make it better at it. And one thing that's come out now that I've been watching is it's a text-based adventure, kind of like the MS-DOS style, with an AI. So you put in a command, and then it generates 4 lines of text. So it's what you do, what the game does, what you say, and what something in the game says, if there's a dialogue going on. And so it's like a combination between a speech bot and a story bot.
Mm-hmm.
And so stuff like that, it's all in its infancy right now. And it is stuff I've worked on. This is like 10 years ago. They were just working, and it still hasn't really gotten too far as the public eye goes. But I think the research is there. What do you think that kind of like a procedurally generated game? Do you think there's any promise for that? And what do you think would be the most successful execution of something like that?
My next execution.
Ooh. Ooh.
I have an idea like that. But it's weird that you say that you think humans can't keep up with the content, because I think we can. So I think you're thinking in more compartmentalized situations. So like this needs to happen, and this whole event will happen regardless. It's just how you get to that event and if you'll get to that event.
Right. So
right? It's more like
that. Well, that's how it is now. But if you wanted to make a game where instead of just having 5 major decisions, you had like 30 decisions, and each decision led to a different apex and a different ending. Like that's
so I think
2 to the 30 possibilities. Like a person couldn't develop that many specific endings for the game.
Right, but if you design a game that's not about ending, it's just this persistent world that evolves over time that contains story elements, and you're just affecting components of that world, and those components go and do things.
Right.
So if you affect this lady and help her on the street, maybe she dropped her purse, and then because you helped her, she'll maybe go and help somebody else on her path through the world. And that'll, you don't even know what'll happen with that. Something will happen.
I think there's a game like that, actually.
That's the way I think. That's the way I think for like that idea.
I think there's a game like that. At least it was a test game. It was just like blob people in an open world, and it was all just like allies and enemies kind of a thing. So if you did, it was an undisplayed network of who liked who and who was against who. And so like if you broke up 2 people fighting, then one person would see you as an enemy and the other person would see you as an ally, and everyone they saw as enemy and allies would start reflecting that into you. So it was it was an experiment in ally enemy generation. So stuff like that, but with story, I could definitely see working for sure.
But you could take that to the next level, and you just don't think about, okay, so like you affect this lady and then she goes and does something, but what if you can then pull her out of situations as well, in the sense of like, let's say she lives at a house, you go to her house and break like some bricks on it, and now she has to spend the next week fixing her house.
Right, right.
So she's not in the world interacting. She's fixing her house for a week. So you layer in all these possibilities that could happen, but you never know what's going to happen. That's the design I think is needed, because you're right. Like, humans can't develop specific situations out to the mathematical equation that you were saying.
Yeah.
Right? It's just impossible unless you had like quadrillions of dollars and just had a dev team that was the Earth. So yeah, that's the way I see it playing out, is like nobody really knows what's going to happen, but you design the game to have these events that occur, and people can do things and the AI can do things, and everybody's just playing along. And my viewer integration of that idea is like everybody in the world is somebody in your chat, and they're like engaging with you or whatever, right? And you can like build out a story just with people in your chat. I think it'd be psycho.
That would be psycho.
And it's all dynamic content, so every time you play, it's completely different.
Right.
Not only the people are different, but also the things that those people do are different.
I wonder if that falls into the what game was it? Was it Ark? There's the
dinosaurs?
No, there's a space game. I can't remember the name of it. But it's a space game that's like resource based. So your in-game hours convert to what you have in the game. And every once in a while, there's this big territory war, and they wipe out like 8 billion human work hours of resources in the wars. I'm wondering if stuff like that would ever happen, and where like if you had a chat-based game where like everything's going smoothly, and then one person does one thing in chat, and it's just like it fissures the whole thing, and just like everything just collapses in on
everything
itself.
falls apart. Yeah. And you just don't even know what to do because
you're like, it's all going to crap.
Yeah, I think if we can design games that many people can play and affect, and playing could be as simple like as typing a command in chat, or maybe some people can actually get an app and integrate with the game in a different way, and everybody's kind of fueling their choices into the game while the core person, the streamer, is walking through it or showing the experience.
Instead of having NPCs, you have people in chat.
Yeah. I think it could be insane. Could you imagine like an XQC chat, like 50,000 people are in chat and just changing the game on the fly? But it's not all about trolling. It's just about a decision is being made, and you never know what's going to be the outcome.
Right. That kind of gets into almost Ready Player One kind of stuff, right? Like the movie. It's just like everything's just going. Right.
Everything's a game, and everybody's just kind of doing stuff, and some person's just dancing on the sidewalk, but some person's like trying to find the ultimate treasure in the game.
So that's really cool. I could even imagine like on a smaller scale, right? Like if it was a kind of like a skill tech tree boss battle, kind of like a Diablo style. Like imagine you go up to an NPC shopkeeper before a boss battle, and it's someone in chat. And it's like, all right, I need 20 health potions, and the person in chat's like, no, not selling. It's like, no, I need these potions. I have to go to fight this boss, or the whole town's gonna be destroyed. Yeah, I'd rather the town got destroyed. I don't. Not selling to you, bud. Sorry. Like I could see stuff like that happening.
Yeah.
And then like maybe out of frustration, you kill that player and just like loot their shop.
Steal the potions,
right? But now the whole town is against you, right? So now you can't even go back to the town, and you have to like, right? So all sorts of stuff like that could happen, right? So
totally.
I think that open world probably a more successful application than trying to make specific storylines. But I would love to see a fully done procedure generated story game, and I think that AI text adventure is like the first step into making that an entertaining experience, something people can get into. All right. So, I like it. Cool stuff. Well, the clock says we've been at this for a little over an hour.
Oh, wow.
You know what that means?
No, I don't know what that
means. The Midstream Mix-Up! It's actually very fitting because there's a couple ways we could go with the Midstream Mix-Up. But the one I'm kind of focusing in, based on the conversation at hand, is new video game concepts, since we were just talking about that.
Right.
I have two ideas that I've had in my brain for like 20 years.
Okay.
And I'm just going to throw them out there.
20 years.
These have
That's a
been
long
they've been
time.
bouncing around for a long time. I'm sadly
Have
not.
they changed over time
Oh
a
yeah.
lot?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because of like what's possible, obviously,
Exactly.
right? Over 20
Exactly.
years.
Exactly. So the first one came out of when I think when Half-Life first came out.
Okay.
Maybe it was a CS:GO kind of a thing somewhere in there. Um, Imagine it was. I think Portal really took my idea further from what I originally had. So imagine Portal, right? You go into a long hallway, and you have to get out of the hallway, right? There's some puzzle you have to solve. So imagine there's a long hallway, and it's in a building of just stories of these hallways. So let's imagine, for the simplicity's sake, it's 10 stories tall, 10 hallways, and that's it. You
Like you
join
see
in.
10, like you look up and you see 10 stories, or
That's
you
just the
like
format of the game. That's just the format of the game. So you load
okay.
up the game, and you're randomly put into one of the floors in the hallway,
Okay.
and you have to get out of the hallway, but you can't do it with one person. So let's say there's a lever on the wall and then a door all the way down the hallway. And if you're holding the lever down, the door's open. And if you're not holding the lever down, the door's closed. So as one person, you can't do it. And then each level has a kill spot in it. So you can't get out of the level. You pull the lever, you let go, and then you go kill yourself on the kill spot. Now you load up in your next life in another random floor in a different puzzle, and you're figuring that out. So each time you kill yourself, you load up into a random level. And when you load up into a level you've been to before, you see your past self do what it did. So you load up a level and suddenly you see yourself for the first time. You're like, oh shit, who's this? And then you realize it's you. And then you see you go over to the lever and you pull it, the door opens, and then you kill yourself. You're like, I should have gone through the door, it was open. Right? So then you have to kill yourself again. Right? And then you load up in another level. And so each time it loads up a level, you have to figure out what level it is real fast, and then figure out what your past selves did, and then try to get out of the level in coordination with your past self. And it has like a lot of speed run potential. It has a lot of like YouTube video potential, a lot of social potential, stuff like that. And
how are you supposed to actually get through the door?
So once you get out the door, that level like closes off. Like
But if you need two people, are you saying like we do play with two people?
No, it's just you. But your past self.
But you said, oh, you have to play with your past self.
Right. So the game's recording. The game's recording your actions. And so when you load into a level you've been before, the game plays out all your past selves doing what they did the last time you were on that level.
So and it's actually affecting your version of the level.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So I think something like that would be really cool.
And you'd have to time everything,
right?
Because like, let's say you have to pull that lever, but you still have to like your other self has to run to the end.
Right. So maybe when you maybe when you pulled the lever the first time, you didn't hold it long enough before you killed yourself. So then you have to go back and hold the lever again for longer, and then go back again and then get through the door, right?
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's so good.
And then the other concept I had in relation to that is kind of like the ragdoll. So it could be a thing where like maybe there's a pit and you have to fill it up with your dead bodies so that you can walk across the pit without dying yourself.
Right.
Right? So stuff like that too would be like you could have a ragdoll component in there too, where your dead body stays there as an object that you can like build a ramp out of or make a bridge out of, stuff like that.
Right.
So thoughts like that. What would you do with a game like that? What's something you'd implement?
With a game like that?
Yeah.
I love the idea. Literally, dude. That's and I feel like that's not a big idea.
Right.
Like to execute that idea, it could probably be done in like a game jam weekend.
Right, like Gmod probably. You could make that.
Yeah.
Something like it. I think the hardest thing is recording your previous interactions.
No. If it's all local, you're not talking about online.
That's true.
Plays.
Yeah, it'd be local. Yeah, so
you just record everything. It's easy. Like Unreal has that built in. You could just turn it on, and then instead of doing it as like a replay, it actually loads everything and just leave it in that state.
But
like,
think about. Because like even just adjusting difficulty would be as simple as adding more levels, right? So you'd have like the beginner would be like 5 levels, and then the next level would be like a 10 level, and then a 20 level, and then 100. Cause like imagine 100 level where like you load up, you're like, okay, which of the 100 levels was this? Like,
yeah, like kids, you'll never know which floor you were on or whatever, right?
Right.
You're just in this hallway.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah, so that's one idea I had. Any other thoughts on that one before we move to the next one? Or just...
No, I don't think so. I mean, like obviously you just gotta figure out what all the floors will be and all the different
designing the puzzles, right? Yeah.
And then it could be anything. It doesn't have to be 10 floors. It could be 100 floors.
Right. I like it.
Be crazy.
Okay.
I like those ideas. So like you remember that horror game? I don't like horror games, but this one intrigued me a lot. The one where you kept walking in a circle, or like you kept going through it, and then you would like just go. It would loop back on itself, and it'd be the same room, but they've changed.
Right.
Like something's happened.
Yeah.
And then like one of them, like you can open the door and there's like a sink, and then like sometimes there's something in the sink like screaming or whatever. I didn't watch all of it, but like the idea was so interesting where like every time you went through, something was changing and you kind of had to figure it out and know what was happening. I just love that idea so much of like, I love procedural dynamic spaces, like anything that's like you can never really expect, even the devs don't know.
Right.
For me, that's exciting. That's why I like procedural pathway a lot. And Tilted, it's all procedurally generated, right?
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. I don't know what you're going to see at level 50. I know an idea of what you'll see, but I don't know what's going to go.
So yeah, that'd be cool stuff. All right, second idea. This one's a bit more sandboxy. It's really rooted in the speedrun community. So essentially, just like imagine just like a huge, let's call it 64 by 64 tile, flat surface.
Okay.
And you spawn in the corner, and there's a finish in the middle. And the objective is to get to the finish in the middle in the fastest time. So the first time, maybe you just run straight at it. But one of the tiles has like a booster pad on it. So if you ran to that tile, it would throw you closer to the finish and you get to the finish sooner. And a lot of implements like that, so like finding the fastest route. But on top of that, there would be different like power-ups. So like maybe there's a teleportation thing where it teleports you further away, but it takes 5 seconds off your time. So a path that was previously longer could suddenly be shorter because by being able to jump to those tiles instantaneously, you can get to the end really fast, and you've subtracted 5 seconds every time you teleported. Or even having like a reverse thing, like so some physics implementation where if you hit something, it bounces you away from the start,
right?
But then you could reverse and launch yourself forward, and then like do a manipulation where you miss the pad and then you like skid past it and go straight into the finish or something like that. So something like
that. Is that all about memorization? Like you'd memorize
exactly.
Each level
it's like figuring out what's in the level, and then figuring out the fastest way to get to the center on that level. And like the 64 tiles could be randomly arranged, so you could have like your seeds, right? It'd be just 64 factorial seeds. So in like a speedrun community, it'd be like fastest time for this seed, fastest time for this, and there'd be good seeds and bad seeds, right? There'd be good seeds where you have so many options, and there'd be bad seeds where like, yeah, you just got to do this one thing and it's over.
Right.
So what do you think could be implemented into a system like that where you're dealing with a timer in the game and you don't want it to be as linear as just running in a straight line?
I don't know. Like the goal is to be as fast as you can, right?
Right. To have the smallest time on the timer by the time you hit the finish tile.
So then you wouldn't want to like implement score stuff,
right?
Because that would just deter from the time idea, right?
Because
if you put in score stuff, yeah,
right, just stuff that reduces time or even reverses time or whatever.
That's challenging. I don't know.
Yeah,
that idea is interesting, but you think it would, I don't know. You think it would get boring? Mostly if it's like random. because with a game like that, I feel like you would want everything like hard coded, like everything's in the place that it's gonna be.
Once I said, you would have the seed number, right? So with 64 tiles, you'd have 64 factorial possibilities. So when you load the game, you could either load a random one, or you could put in the seed number to get that specific configuration. And so you could keep going back to the same level that you found really interesting.
Right. I don't know the way I would design it. I wouldn't do that.
Okay. You just have one set thing.
I would design each level, but you design each level to have many possibilities of finishing. Like going to the straight line to the finish is never the best way.
Right. Exactly.
And like there actually might be a better way to like go to the other corner, do something, and then
it takes 20 seconds off your time, and then
but it could take a year for somebody to find that combo to happen.
Exactly.
Because there's so many combinations.
Exactly.
That's the way I would design it. It's like this is not random at all. But you design it so that there's so many different things that can happen in a map that it's going to take so long for people to figure out all the different combinations and be like, yo, that's the best one.
Right.
That's the best pass we got to go to. Okay, level 1 done. Level 2.
And the reason why I like playing with this idea so much isn't so much from like what you just said of just designing a level that does it that way, but the potential for the players to outdo the dev, right? And that's what I mean by really embracing the speedrun aspect of it. Like every speedrun ever is always manipulating a code, finding a glitch, clipping through a wall, whatever. And so a game that encourages you to do that, right? So like even if you do have a fastest path design, there might be a faster path you didn't think of. Or maybe there's something that combos that you didn't realize comboed, and it's just like this explosive manipulation, right? So that's what intrigues me, is like, how do you build a game that is encouraging of people to break it and glitch it and all those kinds of things?
You do that by not directing the player. I think that's the most important thing.
Right.
Like, don't baby the player. I really believe in that. I think we hold that true, like with marbles as well. It's like, don't baby the player. Let them figure it out. And if they're not going to poke around, then they're going to miss out on stuff.
Right.
And then, like, what you're kind of doing in the game really symbolizes how good of a player you are in that game, because people are like, holy cow, I didn't even know you could do that. Like going back to the tile thing, right? Like somebody who maybe played the game, they just kept going to the middle and being like, yeah, I win. But
right. And that would be the good thing too, is like anyone could beat the game. And then it kind of has that Mario 64 quality. It's like, okay, you beat the game, but did you know? And it's like, what? Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good stuff.
Tons of ideas like that. Yeah, man.
Well,
there's a big idea that I have. It's like, it's ridiculous. But you know the game Death Stranding?
Yeah.
You know how like they had this little element where it would take whatever other people are doing in the game and kind of like mold the world a little bit to like what other people are doing. So like if people are walking on a certain path, it would get a little beaten up more.
Yeah.
And everything. And then like it would leave a ladder behind in some places.
Right.
Like imagine that at scale.
Yeah.
So like every action you have will be reflected in somebody else's game. 100%.
Yeah.
And like it could shape the earth. Like you could do so much, and it's all about everybody playing on the same space.
Kind of like Rust, but a lot more world interaction.
Yeah.
So like you could dig a hole and everyone sees that hole, or you could build a bridge across something and that bridge is just there.
Yeah, I thought that was like a really cool idea, and if it was just expanded on, I think it'd be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I almost like when I saw that game, I was like, man, this guy's planning something.
Yeah.
Like something bigger. Like Death Stranding is a poke. It's like, hey, is this gonna work?
Proof of concept. I'm very familiar with those.
And then
I do those all the time.
With something massive. Yeah, man. Yeah. I think that's what that is.
For sure.
Because that idea is, that little hidden idea that not a lot of people are focusing on is, I think, massive.
Well, and that also, because the other thing about Death Stranding that a lot of people got hung up on was like, you have to take everything you need for the journey, but if you have too many things, it becomes its own problem.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't like that just because they're not used to it. But that compounded with that whole interactive world really, it really opens that up to like, okay, maybe I only take these couple things because they're super essential, And the likelihood is I'll find something that kind of makes, that I need. Like maybe I won't find wood, but I'll find sticks and I can still make that work. Right? Something like that.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I like, for me, like I said, multiplayer, like anything where people are interacting with each other, I love it. It's so fun for me.
Nice.
The more and more people that are getting involved, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that was a very successful mystery mix-up. We did it! GG! Well, let's complete the non sequitur loop here. We're gonna shift gears. Hard handbrake turn.
Okay.
Pixel, take over the stream, please. Please.
What?
Put us in a brand new direction. Let's dig into something new. What do you got?
Man, where long-term streaming? Where are you headed?
It's a good question. Good question. I would like to be self-sufficient in streaming. I'm almost there. We're getting close. This was my most profitable month, July, that I've had so far. So progress is still being made thanks to these guys. Crushing it. So if I can get there, then the doors are open, right? Because that's now half of my life is freed up.
You're no longer just trying to solve the problem of financially driving yourself, right? Like,
right. And so I'll have sleep, which is nice. I'll have time, which is also nice.
Yeah.
And I'll have the energy, right? I'll be able to just focus on stream because I'm not wasting 8 hours doing something else. I can actually just put it all into the stream. So I would love more talk show stuff. I would love production value. I think is the biggest hurdle right now. Like I just don't have the time to sort stuff out and program things and get everything where I want it to be. So that would be the first step. Once we're stable and self-sufficient, immediately focusing on production value and making sure everything's as polished as I can get it. And then from there, it's really just letting the creativity really juice out.
Right.
So I'm sure there will be a point where marbles, no offense, will be insufficient. We'll have to move on.
Yeah.
But that would only be a good thing. And that's no slight on marbles. It's just to be able to get to a point where marbles is not enough is amazing. And that's the biggest compliment to marbles, right? There's so much marbles makes possible, so much marbles has available. So to get to a point where a stream needs more than what marbles provides is crazy.
But what I'm curious to like what you think that is. Like what is it that you think marbles won't provide?
Well, musicality, definitely. A lot of.
What do you mean?
So just musical performance. I have compositions. I have theatrical, like directorial creativity that I want to be able to execute. Where I need a stage.
Like you want to perform?
Exactly. We need
I see.
Stage,
okay.
Characters, narratives, music, things of that.
Well, that's a whole different direction. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So. You wanted an example of Beyond Marbles.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was just thinking something different, like something small that Marbles wasn't providing. But no, you're talking about a completely different design for your stream.
Exactly.
But don't you think that's shifting the focus of what you've built?
I don't think so. The core has always been creativity and doing things that weren't intended.
Yeah.
And I think that's the captivation of the audience. It's like, what's Shen going to do next, right? So I don't think there's going to be any lacking. And that's part of the building the community, right? So part of getting a community robust enough that I can make those creative decisions and survive them.
Right.
Because, yeah, I might lose 90% of my audience, but if 10% of my audience is big enough to make it work, then we make it work. So... And like Kira's saying in chat right now, like the story time in Tilted, I don't need Tilted for story time. Right. It's a great combo, but I could do story time with full production value, without marbles, and I think people would carry over for that. So, yeah,
it's an interesting perspective. Because I would think of it if you're trying to do like you say musical performance. I think new channel, new brand.
Could be, could be.
Because, like I said, I really believe in well, you're garnering a community about interactive gaming,
Yes.
and then you pull the rug, and then you're designing music. Which not saying you're not going to be good or it's not going to be interesting, but if it's so shifted from your core elements of what you've built, I think that can have a massive impact on what you've built.
And it could. And I think the other challenge in that then is also maintaining that communal creativity, right? That's something I don't think Twitch or any online service has figured out how to harness. There's a strength in the hive mind of human creativity. And if someone could find a way to harness that, I think it would be a very revolutionary idea. So
What is that in turn? What is that in like
so if
connected to?
everyone watching was able to contribute to the production, whether it was theatrical or musical, like what if everyone wrote a character and we put all those
Right.
characters in a situation,
Right.
or if everyone had a musical idea and we put all those musical ideas into a giant symphony. I think there's a lot of ways to keep the community effort, and it's not like it would be a full write-off, right? It's not going to be just like we're doing this now, we're doing this now. It's adding it in, right? So
Right.
maybe we don't do the 1 hour tracks anymore, but now we're doing these giant collaborative efforts. And that's actually one of the directions the 1 hour track might be headed in next season. Is I might put out, everyone could submit their own section. They can only use 40 pieces and has to be longer than 5 minutes. And then I'll have my 1 hour map, and then I'll piece together the community 1 hour map, right?
Right.
So no one person has to make the 1 hour map, but we still have a 1 hour map because everyone worked on it.
Right.
So all different directions. It's not like I said, it's not going to be like a major shift. Like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're doing this now. But just getting to a point where I'm able to do something beyond marbles would be a really big
But
benchmark for me.
Why aren't you able to do that now?
Time is the biggest thing. Is if I didn't have to worry about money, and if I had my own space and my own resources to devote to those kinds of projects, then I would.
But are you not able to like build that some of those things out very slowly on the side and like start dabbling with the small versions of those ideas? Yeah.
Yeah, I am building those out. Like the catalog I have on my computer and on my backup drives is extensive, and it's always just like, oh, this is a great idea, and I get it all filled out. I was like, ooh, can't quite pull this off yet, but the idea is there.
Right.
So,
but you can like swap out certain days. You could have like your exchange day, right? Where it's you never know which Shens is going to pull out.
And that's what I'm working on. Like, so with the schedule I have now, for this season, I'm really thinking Tuesday is going to be Wild Card Tuesday, and it might be a different game. It might be a different project, So that's.
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
Those are ideas I'm playing with right now. For sure.
Yeah, just keep poking around. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see the like. I didn't see the like the idea of like it's long term, but you're not like working on it now. You're not active. You know what I mean?
Right. So
yeah,
one thing at a time for me. But the ideas are there, for sure.
I got you. So, that's cool.
And I think that's also part of the success of ideas like that, right? Like, it's always that trope, like, think of where you were 5 years ago. So how much more unpredictable is you 5 years from now?
Right.
It's the same thing. Like, I have ideas, but making anything concrete or making anything into action before it's able to be released is good for development, but you always have to keep that in mind. Like 5 years from now, it's going to be a whole different ball game. So letting those ideas grow over time as things change, I think, is a big key to that success. And then, like, for me, it's all about timing, right? So when I found Marbles, it was a good time. It was season 6. I was like, let's get in on this. Floor's wide open, right?
Right.
If I came into Marbles this season, I might be a little more hesitated. Be like, woof, a lot of people are already doing a lot of stuff I don't know how to do. This might not be the time for me to get in on this, right?
Right.
So by having those ideas floating around, if something opens up or some ground's broken, there's a new streaming platform, there's a new interactive game that gets released, there's something. It's like, ooh, this is it. This is what we were waiting for, right?
Right.
Like that timing is what I'm always looking for. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Good stuff.
I don't know what else to engage here.
I have a related question.
Okay.
What does the future of Twitch depend upon? In your
The future of Twitch, in my opinion. Oh, wow.
If it is to succeed as a community or as a company or even grow as a company, what do you think the cornerstone is?
I don't know. They're making a lot of good pokes. They're doing a lot of good pokes at ideas, but it feels like they're leaving a lot of those pokes unanswered. So they're not like taking that idea and developing it more, letting it foster in the community and let it like truly dive into it, right? It's almost like they like put out these little ideas and then let them sit. But I mean, yeah, see, you got YouTube coming up now, right?
Yep.
Like YouTube's making big impact. It's gonna like as with Doc over there, it's gonna be big.
Yeah.
And it already is big, right? YouTube's already big, but YouTube live streaming is gonna really start taking shape now, I think. So there's an up and down of that. The up is hopefully Twitch is like incentivized now to like get a kick in their ass and go, okay, we need to make something huge.
There's competition on the field. We got to get in gear.
Yeah, but if you've noticed, Twitch has been signing sports into their mix, music artists. They're bringing a lot of big names into the mix, not necessarily streamers, but artists and creatives. And I think that's going to have a long-term effect. So I don't really know that they're making terrible moves either. Like I think they're doing things.
Yeah, they're not sitting on their heels for sure. They're trying.
And they're trying things that a lot of people are like, I don't know if that's a smart move. But what it is doing is it's the potential of fostering massive communities long term.
Yep.
Like sports communities are huge, right? People who follow sports
and enduring.
Enduring, and they're a demographic that doesn't watch Twitch normally. No, right? They're like they're on TV, right?
But
that's where the sports are.
The advantage of having all the advantages of online broadcast with past broadcasts and highlights and all, like everything you can do with a Twitch stream that you can't do with regular television.
Right. But imagine this. Twitch somehow gets all of NHL and starts having all the NHL games, right? So then you know that like at whatever time the game ends, there's a potential of like thousands of viewers flooding into Twitch and just going into other channels. Yeah. I think that's such an exciting time is like once Twitch starts reaching those different demographics of people who just used to be on TV and now they're coming onto the online streaming platforms. And if Twitch can nail that, which they quite potentially may, that'll be a game changer forever because you lock in the sports communities and like that core television watchers. Holy cow. Yeah. Like relevance is there.
And it really is just always, for me with the Twitch, right? Everyone's always shouting at their TV. And this is something I tell a lot of new streamers about is like, think of every time you said something to your television. That's going to be in your chat, right? Right. And it's not a bad thing, but you need to understand, like, that's the advantage of Twitch. Is when you're at home and your team isn't making the right play, you're like, come on, idiots, do the right way. Why are you passing? You're 2 yards from the end zone. Just run it in, right? So it's like, you can do that in a chat now. And you see 1,000 other people say the same exact thing at the same time. You're like, yeah, come on. Like, there's a whole extra element of involvement there. And especially with sports teams, just the chat element alone is such a huge increase in experience on the viewers' end of things.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I think the next 3 to 5 years are very interesting for streaming in general. There's going to be shifts. There's going to be like relevancy shifts. I guarantee that, and it'll just matter who keeps fighting for it.
Yeah.
Who continues the battle, right?
Yep.
And keeps just trying new stuff. And Twitch has shown that they're good at trying new things, but they're not that great at continuing to develop those things.
Right. Figuring
so
out
that's just something we'd have to be aware of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like squad streaming, that's still only available to partners and has never been touched, it seems. I have a theory that the reason they didn't do that is because it influences less viewership.
Yep.
That's a theory, but I don't know if that's true or if that's like a real thing that
or
they're
maybe
assessing.
It's a prototype for large stream events, right?
Right,
because you always have like your Apex Legends tournaments, or you have like a Hearthstone tournament, and a platform or a mode of watching that lets you just like flick between all the different teams would be really advantageous for the viewer experience. But then you have to figure out a way to catalog that viewership, right? So like one person watching 20 streams, but they're switching stream every 2 minutes. Like that's a high level of activity. That's captivated eyeballs. To an advertiser, that's a really good target for your advertising, is someone who's, following the tournament minute by minute, right?
Right.
So if there was a way to really catalog or at least evaluate the interaction of viewership with a system like that, I think that's what they're probably struggling with.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah, right? Like we don't have the whole picture. It's always a challenge to like think about it without having the whole picture.
I was actually watching an insider video for some of the Twitch, at least like the financial aspect of it.
Okay.
And their take was that trying to convey to Amazon that they're worth the investment is the biggest obstacle. Because like Amazon could afford to create the AI systems that something like YouTube has that would really benefit Twitch.
Right.
But trying to convey to Amazon that investment is worth it,
right,
is the problem, right? So.
And they have got like no core to start from,
Right. And again, their takeaway was that as far as Amazon's concerned, Twitch was just a grab for Twitch Prime, right?
Right.
So if Amazon Prime is where Amazon makes the most money. So anytime they buy something, it's viewed from how does this help Amazon Prime maintain profitability. Right. So trying to get Twitch out of that, it's just Twitch Prime catalog is a really big challenge. But again, we don't know the whole story, so.
Exactly. we can only speculate, right?
We can only speculate.
I think that makes sense. Like imagine Amazon's like, oh, well, how are we supposed to compete with Google, who's been at it for 20 plus years, right? Trying to like develop out this AI, and now it's working, and it's like Amazon's like, well, I don't know if I want to invest in that.
Yeah.
But I wonder if like the perception of streaming is that it's this spot in time that's eventually going to become irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like live streaming is not a forever thing because it's not sustainable or something. I don't,
Yeah. Like before live streaming figures itself out as the main media consumption, a greater advancement's made that replaces it and does it better.
Because a lot of people think voice is the next thing, right? Like voice is going to be the thing that is everything. So if like we're doing is consuming voice, is streaming going to be a thing that people watch if everybody's just like, it's all voice driven and there's no pictures anymore? Right. Could you imagine that?
Right.
I mean, I don't agree with that opinion. I don't think
it's just nothing but Joe Rogan podcasts.
Right. Yeah. But I don't think, I think humans will always want the eye satisfaction, right? Like the satisfaction of the eyes and enjoying a nice show.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well, I mean, theater.
That's what we do.
Theater's the root, right? For me, as far as entertainment goes, like the first entertainment is sport. And what is sport but really just it's a less scripted theater, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
these guys versus these guys, and this has to happen.
Right.
And so theater always has a place in the human mind, especially for entertainment. And I don't think that's going to go away. And the voice can't replace theater. And this is something I touched on in a while back. It was probably like episode 4 or 5. As like storytelling, verbal storytelling.
Yeah.
Kind of when I do my story times in Tilted, there are advantages to those modes of telling a story, because you're not bound by maintaining this suspension of disbelief. You don't have to have the person immersed in the world. You can take asides, you can take breaks, you can explain what's happening in one of the characters' brains without this really weird derailment of the story and the motion and the flow. So there's advantages to it, but because there's that big desperation between the two of them, they don't compete. They're different things.
Right.
And they satisfy different needs. So I think Twitch has a long way to go, and I think they're going.
Yeah. Well, they're doing stuff, right? And that's always a good sign. It may not be the stuff we want, but it's stuff.
They're not getting bought by Microsoft, so.
It's true. Yet.
Anything else relevant to those kinds of topics?
Not really, I guess.
Okay. I could throw a question your way if you're up for
it.
Yeah. What have you not seen in the marbles category, like in streaming, that you think has a lot of potential? Give you a launch pad here. Deathluck and Bax did the builder competition, which I helped work with them behind the scenes a little bit on. And that was like one of the puzzles I was working on. I was like, how do we, like, building isn't a thing so much for streaming. So how do we make building a thing, right?
Right.
And I think they really, really nailed how to present that. And obviously there's little kinks that need to work out as far as the competitive side goes, but from the entertainment and viewer side, I think they nailed it.
It was fun. It was a fun to engage with and watch, right?
Absolutely. So is there something in marbles that you think still hasn't been made stream friendly, like some little Pandora's box yet unopened?
Well, I think we're in the era of like non-studio run events. Like, I think it's the start of that era, and I think it's a very interesting era that we can walk through, because when you start, like you see the builder, right? When you start tapping into the community's creativity, you start seeing a lot higher quality stuff come out, because there's more potential.
Someone can take 20 hours to work on a map, and you don't have to.
Right. And so if we can design an ecosystem that is all about lifting up those who run amazing events and in a very clean and clear method, then the future is extremely interesting. Like, it's kind of like why we've been teaching so much, is because the second the community takes hold and starts just doing their own stuff, I think the future is extremely bright once that starts happening, it's just starting, right? And you're seeing it. So that's something that's very exciting. It's not necessarily like untapped, but I think right now it's still untapped, because not a lot of people are really doing it. Like, some people are starting to try things, like you with your Tilted and stuff like that. Like, it's just starting, but the future's very bright for that. I don't know if there's anything necessarily in marbles that is untapped yet.
I think Battle Royale needs something.
It needs something from us.
Yeah.
It's not on you guys yet.
Yeah.
There's not enough content there. That's the problem. And I recognize that. That's why it didn't even come
to me, right? If I may, because you're talking more of getting into that interactive thing, maybe having like a jump command or a dodge command, like giving people...
I don't think commands during the game is positive. No. I really don't believe it.
Okay.
Like, I continually watch all the games that are doing interaction, and I truly believe that commands during chat is destructive. It's extremely destructive to the experience.
So that's the challenge, right?
Yeah, the problem is you need to lift people out of chat. So it's either extension or like an app or something.
Mm-hmm.
But extensions aren't favored right now. It's not a positive thing to have on streams. Not a lot of people activate them even, right?
Right.
And then obviously an app does another thing that I don't like to do is lift people out of the stream.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that. I don't think it's a good practice to be doing. I don't even think it's a good practice as a streamer to be sending people away during a stream.
Right.
To do anything. Like, you're providing a show. You're not providing a task. What do you call them? Treasure hunts, or where you got to go do things and then come back or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it's just. I guess that's my it is. But it's a good challenge. Mm-hmm. And you might see something from us shortly to where things get interesting. we got a lot in the works. I'm really excited for the future. I think like on stream is just starting to take shape.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm happy to be a part of it. Just
man.
Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll keep doing what we do, and we'll all get there together.
Exactly. Like rev share is something I want to hit so bad, but it's a big task.
Yeah.
Right. When you start dealing with money, so you have to have legal contracts, all this stuff in place, and then you also have to automate it. Make sure that the people who are onboarded get to see their data clean and clear, so it's not no messing around.
Right.
You can go if you make a sale, you can go check it and be like, boom, okay, I made $2 today or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think that's very important. So like a system like that is.
I think your streamer keyword for the shop is a really good idea, but like you said, there's all that back end stuff that you have to sort out.
Yeah, it's so important. I see a lot of games do it, and it just creates confusion of like, how much money did I make today, or am I selling, and then you just constantly get DMs is like, hey, how much money am I making today? Like, for example, the Stream Elements, their partner merch store. So like, I have a different merch store than the free one that everybody gets, and I don't get like a report, and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what's
even
working,
on Twitch.
What's not.
Like, I'll go into my Twitch stats after a stream, and it's like, okay, did I make any money today? I know how much I made for the month, but how much did I make on this stream? Like, there's no, I can't just.
Yeah, there is.
Well, you can go into like the breakdown of it, but
you can see how much you made that stream and exactly from where that money came from.
Right, but then you have like I don't know if the advertising always updates right away.
So ads take a data update, yeah,
and stuff like that. So, like that's what I was saying.
That's usually
there's always like the things like right. There's always that lag time.
But Twitch has like one of the best analytics for streamers.
Right.
That's kind of like the system I would want to hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's important to know if you're doing something right or wrong as a streamer. Right. So like if you're selling something, if we're incentivizing you to sell marbles, for example, you want to know if like you did a promotion on Tuesday, if you have increased sales, then if you didn't talk about it all on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And if you can go, okay, well, Tuesday that was a good act. I did something right there. Then you can do that again.
Right. So, yes, it's tricky.
Absolutely.
Once money's involved, just.
It is, right? And it sucks because that's what this ecosystem is money, right?
Yeah.
That's what streaming is. It's like everybody needs to make money. Everybody needs to keep doing what they're doing. And if there's no money flow, that means somebody's doing something wrong.
Yep.
Because the support's not there.
Yep. I guess loosely related to this. Because it is very easy to get caught up in constantly innovating. Very easy to get caught up in trying to maintain that revenue and all that stuff. But there's also just taking a break, just time off. And you're a dev, you're a streamer, you're a gamer, you do it all. So I think you have a opinion more heavily weighted than most as far as like, what would you define as an actual break, and how important is it, and how frequent should those breaks be?
That's, in my opinion, that's case by case. You know yourself as best as anybody, right? And you just need to live within your happy space. And if you find yourself leaving that space, you're doing something wrong. Right? And obviously, like micro unhappinesses happen, right? If you do something and you're like, oh, okay, I wasn't happy during that moment, but that happens, right? Like I don't like doing LODs on stuff in the game, but it has to get done.
Yeah.
So that's like a micro, and it's like I don't like doing it, but it has to get done, so I do it. But it doesn't make me miserable forever. Like it's just like this task. So stuff like that, and I think it's just important to break as you see fit. If you find yourself exhausted, even though you're getting amazing subs or you're getting a lot of follows, you gotta like take a day off or something, because if you get mentally exhausted and you let that take over your life, that's when stuff starts getting bad. You start thinking negatively, like your whole lifestyle changes and starts heading down that direction step by step, and you won't notice it until it gets to the worst, because we don't notice micro changes in our daily, right?
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that just builds up and changes you, and then you get to a point you're like, whoa, that's not where I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that context, then what is an actual break? Because like you may not stream that day, but maybe you're still going over all your footage, or you're working on highlights, or you're in Discord for 12 hours, or like, you know, it's like, what would you classify as like an actual break?
Whatever gives you your mental freedom, whatever, like editing videos to you could be your like your freedom, right? It could be your space where you just love it. You get in the zone, you just edit some videos, it's not work to you, and you just do your thing, and that's a break. So whatever makes you happy and whatever makes the people around you happy, right? Like I was talking about that recently, is like your home life has to be taken care of as well.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever's going on behind the scenes has to be taken care of, because that's what's going to let you focus on your main job, this job.
Yep.
So all these things come into play. Like I don't break. I've been working for 2 years plus years straight. Like I just don't break. For me, it's easy. It's second nature, right? Like obviously streaming and stuff, that's challenging to me, because I'm not that, I don't find myself that entertaining. I need to work on that. That's something that I'd love to get better at, and just keep building. But that's something that stresses me out often, is like being on stream and like dead air and like trying to deal with that, and learning all these things, because that's not me. Like I hated drama in school. I took it and I was like, I hate this. This sucks. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be on stage. And here I am. I do streams, right? Like, but I feel what streaming is to me is my connection to the community. Like that's like the pipeline.
Yeah.
You know, Discord's like the back end a little bit. Like that's where the community hangs out and can put stuff. But like the stream is the pipeline of the core information, because that's the space where our game lives. That's where I can get the most interaction out of everybody and see what the game does and see what the game doesn't do. So yeah, that's just like
right.
Trying to like balance all that stuff. And yeah, just going back to like happiness, like you need to be happy in what you're doing, because if you're not happy, everything's going to reflect outwards, because in the streamer ecosystem, you're always in front of your people. You're always there.
Yeah.
And the second you have a negativity shift, everybody notices. Everybody will see it on you. And so once that starts happening, then your chat dynamic changes and people start leaning, like your chat is a direct reflection of you. So if you're a negative person, your chat's going to be a very negative chat. And like, just imagine a whole spiral of negativity spooling all day, and you're streaming and consuming that. And then you go offline and then you're negative at home, and it's just like, oh, and then it just weighs you down over time.
I think that's really well put. And even if we broadened it more, maybe not what makes you happy, but what lets you be yourself, right? Like just do something that's you, for you. Like even if it's just going for a walk in the woods or playing with the dog for a while, just, you know, finding that thing that just kind of reminds you of who you are. Because you do have this constant, as much as you try to be transparent or not when you're streaming, it's a mask, it's a character.
Right.
It's not an unfiltered version of yourself. So having an outlet where you can be your unfiltered self, whatever that might be, is really important.
Yeah. And definitely if you do personas on stream, you probably want more of that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You probably want more of that at home, is like that escape, right? The disconnection from that, to be like just what you said, to be yourself, right?
Yeah. For sure. Actually do have one quick question.
Okay.
I have made misstatements before. I've spread erroneous information despite my best efforts, and we've issued corrections as we've needed to. Is there anything that comes to mind, either recently or just that's stuck in your brain? Maybe something that I said that was inaccurate or not fully on point that could be corrected or is worth a second conversation about?
I literally don't keep track of that stuff. I don't.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, like I don't micro assess people.
Yeah.
Unless it's had a massive impact on me.
Right.
Which is very rare.
Well,
but
I'm glad I'm not in that category.
Yeah, so like even if somebody says something stupid in my chat, you might get banned or you might get timed out, but literally that's the event in my head. It's like gone.
Yep, done. Bye.
Done. No hate. I don't go home and stew in a pot and like, oh yeah. Like it's just not me. I just forget about it, move on. And if it's something that impacted me, whether it be negative or positive, I study it. I ask, why did this happen?
Right.
What happened here? And how do I make it not happen again? Right? And how, like, what did I always look inwards. What did I do wrong in this situation?
Yep.
Because I'm the only one who I can control. I can't control anybody else.
Yeah.
I can only fix my own actions. So that's
a philosophy I live by, is that it takes one person to make a mistake, but it takes two people for there to be a problem. Right.
Right.
So if someone makes a mistake, that's not a problem. It's a problem when someone makes a mistake and the other person doesn't like forgive them or get over it or whatever the interaction there is. So it's
right.
Mistakes happen, whatever. But the problem isn't the mistake. It's when there's a mistake and the person that doesn't get over it.
Right.
And that's when there's an actual problem. So
totally.
That's something I definitely identify with for sure.
I think there's a lot to take away from like moments like that and just allow you to grow from it as a person. Because it's just like human to human. You're gonna run into people you don't agree with.
Yep.
Constantly. And it's either you disengage or you talk it out and deal with it. And often disengaging is the way to go because you're not going to get along with everybody and you're not going to convince everybody to believe in the things that you believe in. It's just not possible. There's 8 billion people and so many people on the earth. Like, how do you expect to get along with everybody?
Yeah. And even just the percentage of those people you'll ever meet in your life, right? Like,
right.
You'd be lucky to meet 10,000 people in your lifetime, and it's like, out of the 7 billion, like, come on. You're working a small sample size of a very diverse group. Like, good luck.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah. Any other questions you have as we approach the precipitous end?
I don't know. I'm excited to watch you grow. I mean, I feel like a lot of people right now are just in the infant stages of like those next steps, those big next steps for themselves, right? And like I've watched a lot of people over the last 2 years grow with marbles, but I feel like it's getting to the point where everybody's getting to the point where they kind of want to be, and now you're starting to really diversify. And you're starting to see that content diversify online. And for me, it's just exciting to watch everybody play in the space and walk their path.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not really a question, but it's more just a statement of like, I'm super excited for the future within marbles and also, you know, beyond marbles and where everything leads because there's so much diversity in the world. You never know who's going to play marbles next and what's Shen going to do next with marbles or whatever, right? What's the next 1 hour track going to be like and all this stuff. It's super exciting.
Yeah. And I think last season was the turning point, at least for where I'm at, because up until then, any event I wanted to be involved in, I was involved with. And now there's so many things I want to be involved with, I can't do them all. And now I have to like choose, right?
Right.
Like I was not directly involved with the builder competition because that was Bast and Deathlock, right? And there's other things that other people are doing. Like there's a couple people who want to start making builder tutorials for YouTube. I was thinking about it, but right now I don't have the time. And you know, if no one does it soon, I'll probably do it. But it's one of those trade-offs, right? Like as much as I want to have my hand in all the pots, it's nice knowing it'll happen with or without me. And I think we're just getting to that point where the community's taking off in that direction of it will happen with or without you. And now you have to start picking and choosing what you're going to latch on to.
That's actually an untapped thing that I just realized. Like content creation with marbles beyond Twitch, that's untapped. And I think it's a huge market. But it's not like you don't do it the same way. It's not supposed to be like viewer interaction. It's right. What you can create with marbles.
Right.
Like, you know how you can only have effects with viewers?
Yeah.
Like, I really think nobody's tapped into that idea where, like, you create content, some nice visual content, and then, you know, put on YouTube and social. And
I mean, I may or may not have devoted 2 full streams to capturing Tilted Acres footage with the viewers and then credited all the viewers in the credits. That may or may not have happened. But it may or may not be my most popular marbles video on YouTube.
So yeah, I just think it's untapped. Like it's not being done at scale yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I think I can burst the bubble at this point then, since we're getting close to the end anyway.
Okay.
Monday. I've been hush-hush about it, but new series, me and Baxcast, Record Hunters. We're both going to be on one stream, alternating streams.
Yeah.
We're going to do my stream first this Monday, his stream the Monday after, back and forth.
Okay.
We pick a track, usually going to be a community map, and we keep running it till we break the world record, and then we move on to the next one.
Whoa.
Now, as a stream experience, it is going to be hype. But also, the YouTube potential for the hits and misses of going for the world record. I mean, if you do marble searches, you'll see top videos still from like 2 years ago are XQC doing his 1,000 marbles trying to break world records on pixel maps, right?
Right.
So the excitement is there. The clippability is there of just, you know, taking those super close moments and slamming them all together in like a 5-10 minute video.
Could be exciting.
I'm excited.
But you and Bax are a good show together, that's for sure.
And that's the thing. So that's going to be the trick, is we've talked about what we want it to be, and at this point we've decided we have an idea, and we're just going to figure out what it will be in real time. So we'll see how it works out as a stream, and beyond that, how it can be catered into YouTube potential as well. And together, I think that's going to be a powerhouse, because then Record Hunters as a series is then a thing, right? You can watch it live, you can watch the YouTube, and they're 2 different experiences, and you can just absorb the content.
Yeah, no, it's good.
So, Spumblers.
That's exciting.
This Monday. I've not said anything until right now.
This season is just, it's constant hype, man.
This season's going to be the biggest one. It's going to be real big. So,
we have things coming up too. It's so exciting. It's insane. But I love hearing it. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's like, it's almost like once you hit your comfort zone, you really start pushing beyond.
Yeah.
You start making those gamble decisions, I guess you can call them.
Yeah. Taking risks.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's super nice to see, man.
Mm-hmm. And for the viewers watching, one of the prizes for setting a record on Record Hunters is being immortalized as one of the test marbles for Shen's stream. So the test marble name list will just grow and grow and grow. And what's good, actually, Pixel, where are you? You're over here.
I think I'm over
kudos to you, sir, because at first I thought going through the list backwards was really bad, but now it's really good. Because I don't know if you noticed, when it loads the names from the list, it loads them backwards.
Okay.
So like if you have 57 names, it starts at 57 and works its way up. So if I only do a simulation of 10 marbles, it only picks the last 10.
Okay.
But as a prize reward, getting added to that list, it makes sense, because if you are the latest to win a record, then you are always going to be in the simulation no matter how many marbles are used. And then as you go up the list, you're less and less seen unless you're doing like the 250 marble test.
Right. So if somebody wins again, are you going to add, they get another
they get revamped in. Yeah.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. And that's just my side. I don't even know what Bax is going to do. We're still working it out. Like I said, we're going to figure it out in the stream. So It should be a very organic, exciting experience for everybody.
I like it.
Speaking of promotions, now that ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of the YouTube portion of the video.
Oh.
Yay! Pixel, thank you so much for coming on. This has been phenomenal. A dream come true, if I may say.
I looked the wrong way. No problem.
Yeah. As is tradition, is there anything you would like to promote? Like, I don't know, a giveaway that is for the first time this season, maybe?
The PC giveaway for streamers and viewers?
What? Streamers and viewers?
2 PCs, man. Oh. Yeah, we're working with Newegg.
These are no slouches. These are beasts. He's got like $4,000 price tags attached to them. Like, these are some beasts.
Yeah. So if you're a streamer, you can sign up, and then every 10,000 experience you earn is a ticket into the draw up to 100,000 of 10 tickets. So you don't have to go all season and worry. Once you get to 100,000, you can stop.
And you get 3 just for signing up.
What?
You get 3 tickets just for signing up.
No.
Right? That's what I said on my thing, because it has like the check out the computer and sign up for the
that's
thing.
just tasks you can complete.
Oh, those are just tasks.
The
actual tickets are only XP. Okay.
Yeah. The other one is for the tasks.
Gotcha.
The racer giveaway.
Gotcha. All right.
So that's just sign up and then you're involved. You don't have to do anything.
Good to know the difference. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the Canadian question that
the math quiz. Canadian math
if you're
test.
Canadian. Yeah. Canadians. Oh my god.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man, we got that going on, and just season 18. Enjoy season 18.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. We will continue with chat Q&A, but only live. You can't catch it on the YouTube video. I'm sorry. There's no way to do it. You got to be here live.
Oh.
But thank you all for watching the first season of Losing Our Marbles, a talk for 2. Thank you again, Pixel, for being here. It's been awesome.
No worries.
We'll see you next season. Season 2. Bye.
Bye.